Okay, so let's talk about this, because this is becoming ridiculous. This is becoming pretty much the most idiotic nonsense that's happened in the gaming scene. And that's a scene full of idiotic things. There's nothing more annoying and more hypocritical than fanboys. There just isn't. And it's always an eyesore to see a grown man fanboying over a company that he gives his money to. And I'm not talking about reasonable fans here, okay? I'm talking about fanboys. These guys and reason do not mesh that well. And I've seen many types of fanboys over the years. Anime fanboys, movie fanboys, console fanboys, PC fanboys. But now, a new and even dumber type of fanboys has been birthed. The digital game store fanboys. People who fanboy over digital game stores. Specifically the Steam fanboys. Because that is the only example I've seen of this kind, and I hope to God it's the last. PC community as a whole has a strong tradition to make a fuss about any and everything, and make a big deal out of the tiniest thing you can imagine, like it's the end of the world. Let's take when Steam launched, for example, and the ton of whining you heard daily about how Steam and digital games are killing PC gaming, and how you don't own your games anymore, and then they completely forget about it, like it did not even happen. Hell, they practically worship Steam and log gaming now. Rinse and repeat with pretty much anything that happens in the PC scene. Let's take another example. When you play an Origin or released, and my god, did that one last for a while. Then again, as it always do with these people, died down, and no one talks about it like it did not even happen. Again. And the new current hot fashion now is to whine about the new kid in town, the Epic Store, and we'll see how long this one will last. My money is on not that long. The way these store fanboys think of these stores is pretty weird. They do not think of these stores as stores, no. They think of them as some sort of sport clubs, where you need to pick one to cheer for and boo all the others. So let me state the obvious here. These are stores. You can put your flags away and your pom-poms down. These are businesses, companies. They do not need a bunch of nerds cheerleading for them. They're companies where other companies like video game makers come and pay a fee to display their games on. Cheering for one of these stores over the others is exactly like cheering for Walmart over Target. It is that dumb. And let's make something very clear here. If you made a game and want to put it in a store and not the others, you can. It's your game. You owe none of these stores anything. You owe Steam nothing, you owe Epic nothing, or any other store for that matter. It's your choice where to put your goddamn game. If another store comes along and offers you a better deal for your game, you can. There's nothing wrong or scummy about it, no matter how much screeching the fanboys make. But first things first, let's see some of the arguments these Steam fanboys use to justify their behavior. And I'll be focusing on Steam and Epic here, because these are the two stores these man-children decided to play dress-up with, and to dress up Steam as the benevolent saint of a store, and Epic as the evil, ugly villain. So let's start with the big one. The Epic store buys exclusives, and our benevolent store does not. Which I guess proves that you have to be both dumb and ignorant to be a fanboy. Because this is exactly what Valve did to get games on Steam almost a decade and a half before Epic. That's not just a thing Steam did, that's the first thing Steam did, outside of its own games, was buying exclusives. Do you know what's the first non-Valve game on Steam was? The very goddamn first game. It's a game called Ragdoll Kung Fu by Mark Helly. Do you know how this game got on Steam? And spoiler alert, it was not supposed to be released on Steam until Gabe Newell himself offered Mark $10,000 to get his game on Steam. Mark did not even know what Steam was until they approached him and paid for it.
So these people came up and says, "Oh yeah, we'd be interested in putting this on Steam because we're changing the service to have third-party titles and things." And Alex was with me at the time, and he explained to me what Steam was, and they were like, "If you could come to Seattle tomorrow to meet Gabe Newell, then let's talk about it." And I'm like,
God.
"That's all cool." And Alex was like, "Do you know who Gabe Newell is?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't got." He explained to me.
And it was released on Steam exclusively. Rings a goddamn bell? The same exact thing these fanboys are complaining about every time a game is not released on Steam. The first third-party game ever on Steam was a paid exclusive. So yeah, if your reason not to use Epic is it's buying exclusives, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you disagree and think stores that did that should be boycotted, then stop using Steam right now. But as I said, fanboys are a hypocritical bunch. Pretty much all the early games on Steam were done like this, until Steam got big enough to not need to do that anymore. Exactly like what Epic is planning to do. And people are acting now like Epic is doing something atrocious compared to Steam. And can we talk for a bit about what these store fanboys want exactly? Because I have no idea what the hell they want. And I'm sure as hell they have no idea what the hell they want either. Let's take for example the second thing I hear a lot. I want competition, but not like this. Or this is not competition. Like what then exactly? They are acting like if there was a store that puts the user on top of everything else, they will buy from it and support it. Is that what they're talking about? Okay, let me tell you about a little benevolent store that did exactly that. It's called GOG. It is the perfect ethical store that delivers all these quote-unquote competitive ethical practices that these people are pretending to care about. GOG banned DRM. Hell, they made it their motto not to allow DRM on any game on their store. Ever. Period. When you buy a game from them, you completely own it. You just own it. You can download an installer to keep it wherever you want, whenever you want, forever. Back it up on a hard drive, burn it in a DVD, whatever. It's yours, even if GOG disappeared one day. GOG also made a fair price policy where they pay you from their own pocket if the game is more expensive on your region than other regions. And if you consider paid exclusive like what Steam did immoral, then GOG did not do that either. So, if they care about ethics as they pretend, it's the perfect store. Better than Steam, better than Epic, better than any other store when it comes to that. After all that, what happened to GOG? What the hell happened? They laid off parts of their staff and ended some of their user catering policies because almost all the people pretending to care about these things are lying out of their skulls, and the sincere ones are few and far between. So all the big talk about how they support stores for ethical reasons is complete nonsense after the failure of GOG. If they didn't support GOG for that, they wouldn't support any other store. And before we go too deep into this, let me make something very clear. I love Steam. Yes, you can love something and not be a dumb fanboy of it. You can just be a reasonable fan. I know this is some sort of purple magic to some people, but trust me, it is doable. I love Steam, and I have hundreds of games on Steam. Steam is my second store of choice after GOG, and given that almost all big games are exclusive on Steam, it's practically my first choice, because I have no choice when it comes to Steam. There is no choice. I also love how they are very open and welcoming for indies, and I especially love what Valve has done to improve the PC market. Even some unexpected things from a launcher to do, like the popular controller support they added. The native Steam support for the DualShock 4 is just awesome. And also what they're doing with Proton, which has the potential to change the whole desktop market. If things went really right, we might not even be forced to use Windows to play PC games one day. There is nothing wrong with supporting Steam. That is not my point. There's a lot wrong with supporting only Steam to the point of killing everyone else. That's the whole point of this video. But regardless of how much I love Steam, we have a serious problem with Steam. Steam is becoming a practical monopoly, and this should raise a big fat red flag for anyone who cares about the PC gaming scene. Even if you're dumb enough to love one single store and refuse to buy from any other store, you should want other stores to exist and succeed, because there exists a small tiny thing called competition, and competition does not exist in a monopoly. With only one successful store that does not need to compete, Steam is as good as it is now because it had to compete. For example, the Steam refund policy was absolute garbage until Origin came with its excellent refund policy that Steam had to compete with. And now we got a great refund system on Steam. The same thing already happened with the Epic Store. Steam reduced their store cut to 20% for the big companies only, because indies, the people who need it the most, can go straight to hell, I guess. So yeah, competition is better for both consumers and developers. Only an idiot would want a single dominating store and fight tooth and nail with every new store that tries to compete. We need to have a clear idea about the sheer size of Valve and the extent of the practical monopoly its platform Steam has over the PC gaming industry. Because some people have the dumb idea of Valve as the poor small company that the big bad Epic is trying to eat, when it is the absolute opposite of that. The Epic Store is trying to survive under the monster that is Steam. This is what Steam was and still is to small toothless stores like GOG and pretty much every new store that tried to compete with it. Because Steam already killed all the old stores, a monster that eats everything and leaves only crumbs to them, no matter how ethical or user-friendly or competitive they try to be. Valve is rich, okay? Not normal rich, big goddamn rich. Gabe is one of the richest people, not in gaming industry, on the planet. Steam now has over 1 billion accounts. A freaking billion accounts. It is so big. Even freaking Kim Jong-un here and Santa are using Steam. Steam is making so much money. In 2017 alone, Steam made more than $4 billion. And it grew a lot since then. It is making so much money. Valve pretty much stopped making games anymore. When was the last real game Valve made? When was it? They haven't made a real game in almost a decade because they don't have to. A practical monopoly does not need to work, does not need to compete, does not need to do anything to make money. Valve used to pump game after game when they had competition to be afraid of. Now whatever game they make, it will be nothing compared to the giant free money printing machine that is Steam. They just stay there, wait for game makers to slave for years making their games. And if they want to put their games on PC, they have to come to Lord Gaiman and give him the 30% sacrifice, risk-free, effort-free, free money. They have no option with this monopoly. A third of your money is just gone. 30% free money just to upload some files on their servers. The entirety of PC gaming is pretty much owned by one single guy because people are dumb enough not to support anyone else and lash on anyone who dare to compete. Let's take a look at what this 30% means, because for most people it's just a meaningless number. And just in case you didn't notice, you are the one paying for it. You are the one paying this 30%. So, let's see if Steam is even doing anything to deserve $20 from you for every single $60 games you buy. Let's compare it to a retail game released for consoles. According to a Forbes article, the publisher and developer combined take less than 50% of the game price. The people who did all the work, all the funding, everything to make a game from start to finish, and they get less than half of the money from buyers. So where does the other half go? 25% goes to the retailers, the people who own or lease expensive retail establishments and handle the shipping across the world to present the game to you. As for the console owners, the people who spent and still spend hundreds of millions on developing the hardware, the software, and all the tools and dev kits needed to make the game as easily as possible, they get from 10 to 20%. It differs between companies. So, what the hell does Valve do to deserve the 30% nowadays? Pretty much nothing. They just upload some files on their servers, and that is it. This number used to make sense back in 2005 when bandwidth and storage were pricey, when building the infrastructure for digital game distributions was a big risk, since not many people heard of, let alone bought digital games. But now, it makes absolutely no sense. The storage and bandwidth is extremely cheap, and now there's no risk whatsoever. Upload some files and get a third of the money. That's pretty much all they do now. And there's one reason, and one reason only, they can get away with this. Monopoly. If you make a game for PC, Steam is your only option if you want to sell any meaningful number of copies. Other stores are pretty much negligible. Might as well not exist. They sell nothing compared to Steam. Where else are you going to put your game on? GOG, that sells a fraction of Steam and still takes 30%? There is nowhere else for you to put your game on. Unless you are a huge company. EA, love them or hate them, they sorted this nonsense years ago. They cut everything from Steam and launched their own store, where they get 100% of their game revenue. Small companies cannot do this. If you made a game, you are stuck with give me your 30% Steam. And this is where Epic Store comes in. Now, if you are very observant, you'll notice that Epic makes games. And if you are extra observant, you'll notice that no one wants to spend years and tens if not hundreds of millions just to give 30% of that work to someone who does practically nothing. Except unlike EA, Epic is trying to give away out for everyone, not just themselves, for the much more reasonable 12% cut. And as I said, if you buy games from Steam, you are the one paying the 30%. Because newsflash, economy exists and functions. Increasing cost always results in increase in price. The cost always gets passed to the last part of the chain that cannot pass it to anyone else. And that last part is you. The absolute worst part about the 30% is that it is helping no one in the industry. It does not help push the industry in any way. Developers get a smaller cut and consumers get more expensive games. It does not go to the devs, helping them make more games. It does not stay with the consumers to spend on other games and support more devs. It's just free money that gets thrown down the bottomless billion-filled money bag of Valve. While it could have went to better things, like help small studios from dying, for example, Ultra, the studio that made Echo, one of the most artistic and atmospheric games ever, just shut down. This 30% could have helped them stay afloat instead of adding it to the mountain of billions Valve already have, and Epic is trying to help with that. So given all that, I find it really funny to see some people acting like Epic is the scummy one, or the devs that put their games on Epic to not have a third of their work axed for no reason by Steam. Seriously, if companies do not take this opportunity and support Epic as hard as they can, they deserve to pay the Steam tax for the rest of their lives. Another argument I hear a lot is Epic is making the PC market like consoles, which blows my mind. It's like a bad joke. Let's see what the PC gaming is supposed to be compared to consoles. The PC gaming is supposed to be free, open, owned by no one. The opposite of how consoles work. In a console, the console maker is the bridge troll. It dictates if it wants your game or not, and if it does, you'll have to pay to pass. But at least this troll is the one who built that bridge, so at least they deserved it. PC was not supposed to have this troll. Now it does. Steam became that troll. The whole point of having an open platform controlled by no one was squashed by having a monopoly. Valve now pretty much acts like Sony, acts like Nintendo, acts like they own the platform, and Epic is trying to end that. So how in the hell is Epic making PC like consoles? If by Epic is turning PC like console, they mean like the competition between Sony and Xbox with exclusives, then yes, that's a good thing. That's what an open market is. That's how a market grows. That's why Valve used to make all these games before when there was competition, and now don't when there is none. That is not a bad thing. There's a stigma that really shouldn't exist about exclusives. Exclusives are crucial for the gaming industry. Why do you think Sony is pouring millions and millions, making all these great games every single generation? Nintendo with 40 years of masterpieces, masterpiece after masterpiece, almost every single year. Microsoft, well, not much. All because of exclusives. These games would not exist if competition did not exist. And exclusives are not just part of competition. It is the backbone of it. It is the best thing about it. Because of exclusives, companies throw a ton of money to make all the great games we grew up with. Some people have the naive idea that if exclusivity did not exist, these games would be on all platforms. No, this is not how this works. If exclusivity did not exist, these games would not exist at all. Do you honestly think Sony would throw all these hundreds of millions on these games if they had to release it on all platforms? Of course not. They made them to support their platforms. Else we'll end with another Valve, collecting money and doing nothing. Now, there is an important distinction when it comes to exclusives. Not all exclusives are made equal. There are two main types. The first one is making your own exclusives or funding other studios to make them for you, like what Epic did with the Gears of War series and Fortnite. Unfunded games like Close to the Sun, not to mention the millions in grants and the $100 million fund they offer to smaller studios. And the second type of exclusives is just buying them. The first type is way more important, since it is creating games that would not exist otherwise. But the second type isn't all that bad either, since it helps the developers, like what happened to some indies, that the exclusivity deal Epic gave them pretty much saved them. Plus, exclusives are even better on PC launcher wars than console wars. In console wars, if you want the best of all sides, you have to pay more than $1,000 to buy all the consoles to get all the exclusives, and you have to do it again every single generation. In launcher wars, you do not have to do any of that. You get the same competition benefits for free. Just download the launcher exe and install it once. That is it. And I find it funny that Steam gets a ton of exclusives every single day, but people do not even consider them as exclusives. I don't know, maybe they think having exclusives is a divine right for Valve or something. I guess Valve got so many exclusives, it's a norm now. It's okay for Valve to get tons of exclusives, but not anyone else. And the worst part is, the type of exclusives on Steam is a much worse one than Epic. The one on Steam is a forced exclusive. You put your game on Steam because you have no choice, and you pay 30%. The Epic one is a paid one. I've only seen one leak of such a deal, and it is a $2 million deal. Which one would you take? Get paid nothing and give away 30%? Or get paid $2 million and give away only 12%? Which one? And you see some people describing the exclusives Epic gets as taking hostages. What lucky hostages these are. But I'll give this to Valve. Steam is a lifesaver for indies. Other stores like GOG have the self-killing pickiness and might not even allow you on their platform. For no reason, even if your game is a very well-made one, like City of Brass, which was denied by GOG for absolutely no reason. Same with Epic, although hopefully Epic has done that because they are still working on the infrastructure of their store, not because they have the same pickiness that GOG has. Why the hell are all PC stores are screwed up in some way or another when it comes to game acceptance? It seems like there's literally not a single store with a sane game acceptance policy. There should be a balance point between Steam becoming malware infested and bloated with junkware added every single day, and other stores denying well-made games for no reason. Like, can you hire a quality assurance team, please? It's not really that hard to solve. Another argument: Steam is the best and biggest store. Yes it is, by far. That's exactly why you should buy from other stores. If everyone only bought from the one big store, no other store will make it, ever. And no competition will ever be allowed to exist. How the hell do you expect small stores like GOG to compete with a giant like Steam if no one bought from them? Plus, do you have any idea how garbage Steam was at launch? It looked like this. Does this remind you of anything? It's uncanny. Steam was barren, empty and featureless, exactly like you would expect from every new store. It was nothing like it is now, until people started buying from it and supporting it, allowing it to improve to what it is today. This is what Steam would still look like if people acted towards Steam like what the fanboys want everyone to act towards other stores. Buy from the underdog stores. Support them. I don't care which one you pick. Expecting small stores to just spontaneously appear as feature complete from nothing, as a store that took 2 decades of improvements until it became what it is now, is just insane. If you want them to improve, support them. Plus, this best store argument is dying out fast. Epic already implemented many features people are asking for, and they published a roadmap for the rest. And if they do what's on that map, it will be close to the quality of Steam, and they better do it, cause good god, now the current Epic store is really not that impressive. Let's end with what I believe the most honest reason, the real reason people have to not use anything other than Steam. The I don't want to use multiple launchers argument. Fine. Even if the oh my god, I have to click a launcher before I click on a game to play it, seems like the least responsible reason to let the whole of PC gaming ruled by one monopoly and killing every competition that tried to end it. There's a solution for that. Play Night. It's a program where you can link all your stores into and have access to all your games in one single lazy-friendly place. It's open source, it's free, and it has a ton of features that many launchers don't even have. So if you're that lazy, then there you go, problem solved. Also, there's the GOG 2.0 that should have this feature when it launches. At the end, do not be a fanboy, at least not for a goddamn monopoly. Like if you were just born a fanboy and you can't help fanboying for the life of you, at least fanboy over something that's actually needs supporting, like GOG, instead of fanboying over a multi-billion private company that bags these billions and does not even make games with them anymore. If you like the video, don't forget to like. If you like the channel, don't forget to subscribe and share. See you next time.